Hi everyone, this is Jim. Welcome to this postmortem of my Blitz game number 625. I start off with d4 here, and my opponent played d5. And I go with c4, the Queen's Gambit. My opponent plays c6, the Slav defense. And now I go knight f3, stopping any nonsense with e5, an interesting gambit known as the win-hour gambit when that happens. And my opponent plays a very rare move, bishop to g4. You can see it's at the bottom of the list, although it actually has been played at least once in this database. The funny thing is, I faced this move just a few games back, so I actually still had some idea of what to do against it because I had just looked it up. After bishop to g4, I reply knight e5, and that's actually the best move here. We can just look at it since we're basically out of the opening book at this page. I went over this with the chess engine, and white is almost winning here. Black really needs to be careful just to hold on to material. Bishop to e6 is probably the move here. Bishop to e6, just coming back and shoring up the center there, and then I might continue with knight c3. And I have an advantage in development and more center control, so good position for white, but black could continue to try and make a game of it. When he goes to f5, which he played in the game, it's a very natural move, and sometimes the bishop just comes out directly to f5. It's just like he's wasted a tempo to get there. But this already is losing, and I can win a pawn here just by taking, and it's not obvious. I forgot this part. I think I may have seen this. But if I take the pawn, and he takes back, what I have is the move e4, and if he continues just trying to hold on to material or grab another pawn, then bishop b5 check wins. He doesn't want to block with the queen. The king has no escape square, so he has to block with the knight, and then after the exchange on c6 I pick up the rook in the corner, so I'm winning material here. So backing up after c takes d5, he can't really take that pawn back. Funny enough, it's just too dangerous to open that diagonal to the king. So best play would continue, say knight to f6, trying to round up the pawn that way, and I just can continue to defend it. g6, trying to develop a dark squared bishop somehow. Queen to b3, queen to b6, and we get this kind of line, but basically white stays a pawn up, and there can be a queen trade here. So already on move 4, black is losing here. Anyway, I didn't punish this the most rapid way, but after knight c3, this still keeps an advantage to white. White has an excellent position here and has the edge. He decides to give me the pawn anyway with the move knight to d7. There's a certain logic to challenging my knight here, but he really needs to pay attention to his center and play the move e6 or knight to f6 to try and hold on to things here. So yeah, knight d7 is just neglecting his center, and I can just take it. Took me a while to calculate because there are some trades here that open up lines. So this trade opens up a line from his queen to the pawn, so it looks for a moment like he could get that pawn back, but I take his knight, and now this is adequately defended. So he tried e6 here. And the best move is just to play d6 and just completely shut down black's position here. That was the chess engine recommendation. Just play d6, and you still have the idea of playing e4 later to close out this bishop. So it looks like both of his bishops are going to be leading very sad lives in this, and the engine rates this position as +2 or +3, so it's like I'm a piece up even though the material is even, just because I've so restricted the movement of black's pieces. So anyway, I just traded here in order to stay a pawn up. So after this exchange, he didn't have to trade queens here. He could have just taken back and gone on and played the endgame. I have an extra pawn and a slightly better structure, so it's probably a winning game for me in the long run, but it could be a much longer game. Let's see, he traded queens right away, which makes it easier for me to just go to this winning endgame, because like I said, I have the extra pawn, and even if that pawn weren't there, I have the better pawn structure. He's got this isolated pawn here. So I have a couple of reasons to be hopeful. But my first thought was to make a target out of this bishop here. I want to get in the move e4. And so I prepare it with f3. And a lot of times f3 is a dangerous move because it opens up this diagonal to the queen. But he just traded queens. That's what I mean about making my job easier. With the queens off, I have no worries here. I can just play f3 and e4. He decided to castle queenside. Let's see, and that allows me to play e4 with no trouble. The chess engine recommends trying to get some pieces out, so bishop b4 check. Say I block with the bishop, he can trade, and then he can castle with check and gain some tempos. And I just thought this was an interesting line. The chess engine wants to go here with the king. I don't know if I would have played that in the game. I probably would have gone back over here and tried to tuck my king into f2, but because there is still quite a bit of force, there's 2 rooks and 2 minor pieces, so that's a total of 16 points of force. So we haven't gotten under the rule of 14 yet. The rule of 14 is if there's less than 14 points of force on the board there that your opponent has, then it's safe for the king to come out. But here we're over that, so it's not safe in general. But in this particular case, it looks like black still has trouble. Still will take time for black to get his pieces into the game, and I can get my rooks out pretty quickly. So let's see, knight e7 trying to get his knight out, and e4. So I eventually get on that e4 move anyway, and just play this position with a significant advantage. But that's the best play for black, to try and hold on, I guess, as long as possible. Anyway, he castled queenside immediately. I was able to play that e4 move, hit the bishop, drops back, and really it has it can't attack anything other than these pawns over here. So it's all dressed up and nowhere to go. And in the meantime, I can develop my pieces with tempo. This bishop check keeps the king from attacking the bishop. The king has to go sideways or forward, so it can't attack the bishop directly. And then I bring the other bishop out to e3, which also controls more squares around the king, so he can't approach my bishop. So it's kind of nice how the bishop pair is a good example of the power of the bishop pair. The pair of bishops can defend each other in a way by controlling all of these squares. Now he throws in bishop b4 check. This is a good idea to get his pieces out with tempo. And I tuck my king away at f2, which is a good safe square for it here. Gets it off the back rank so the rooks are connected, and it's pretty safe over here on the king side. He goes knight e7. I go rook to c1. Wanted to try and get some pressure against his isolated pawn. I was really expecting him to push the pawn forward, but I eventually realized that I can just take it. I have the rook and the bishop piled up against it. The other idea I had here is if he didn't move the pawn, I was going to play a move like bishop to b5 here, taking advantage of the pin on the pawn and just try to win it. But it's actually defended by the knight. So the game doesn't have to be over at this point. He just plays a bad move. The chess engine thinks the good continuation here would be bishop to d2, trying to get rid of one of my bishops. So bishop to d2 and rook to c2, moving the rook out from take. He exchanges, and then he can play knight takes rather than king takes, and then he can play f5 and try and get this bishop out of jail. Takes f6, g takes, and so he has managed to liberate this bishop, but I have an extra pawn still, and I have the better pawn structure. I have this nice chain over here and another one over here, and he has 3 isolated pawns, and this little pawn duo over here. So excellent endgame for me. I would probably win anyway, but that would be best play for black. And of course, I can always make mistakes. So you certainly want to keep the game going as long as you can. So rook to d3 is a move that caught me by surprise. Actually took me a while to realize that there was a problem with it, and that the bishop is covering that square. So he just resigned after I took the bishop. So a short game, but there were some interesting points there. Hope you guys like this video. Leave any comments you have in the section below, and I will see you again soon. Bye.